This week, I board a plane in a very unique way. Ride on a delightfully filthy plane.
This is so bad.
And experience an airline that doesn't perform even basic safety checks.
How many people don't have their seatbelts on right now?
As I take a ride across the Atlantic on the national airline of Algeria, Air Algerie.
Oh, hello, bonjour, and sacre bleu from Montreal in Canada. And bonnet de douche, do I have a treat in store today? Because today I'm off to Algeria. So my flight today is with Air Algerie, who are the national airline of Algeria, and they fly several times a week up here to Montreal in Canada, which is why we've had to come here to get a ride on them. Hello, how are you? Thank you.
All your carry-on?
Just carry on, please. Yeah. Thank you.
Gate 53.
Okay, perfect.
This is for Montreal, Algiers.
Okay.
This one is for Algiers, Charleroi.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Do you have access to the lounge?
Okay. Which lounge? Sorry. Okay. Banque Nationale. Okay. Perfect. All right.
Have a nice flight.
Thank you. Have a good day. Well, that was easier than I thought it might be. We're all checked in now for Air Algerie. We're heading off to Algiers in Algeria and then onwards to Europe from there. But for now, we have to deal with airport security. So let's go and get through security and find somewhere to wait. We've got about an hour or two until the flight, so we've got a little bit of time. Let's go see what's there. You know, this place is bringing back memories. I remember living in this bit of the terminal building when I did my flying to the USA for £37 challenge a couple of years ago, and I came in through Montreal. I remember eating poutine in one of these establishments down here. No time for poutine today though. So I'm going to see if we can get some poutine airside though. Let's see. Hello, business class?
Oui.
Thank you.
La ligne 2.
Thank you. Bonjour.
You speak English or français?
English, please.
English, okay, business. Okay, so come in first.
Oh, okay, yeah, thank you.
So put your baggages on the table.
Yep.
Security at Montreal wasn't that straightforward. There's a pre-security check where you get your bags checked, and only then can you proceed to the actual security point to get searched once again, which seemed like a particularly convoluted way of doing it all, really.
Right, they're finally through security here at Montreal. It's really intense security here. Don't know whether it's because I'm going to Algeria or what it is, but there's like two separate security screens. You have one where they go through your bag and swab everything, then you have a second one, and then they took my suitcase full of clothes out as well to go through that as well with the swab. I don't know, but anyway, the good news is we are through finally to the holy grail, the sacred space that is airside at Montreal Airport. They've let me through, so let's go and find the lounge. I'm looking for the Banque Nationale lounge, I think he said when I checked in, so let's go and see if we can get in there.
The Banque Nationale lounge is on the way down towards the gates, and actually wasn't too far for me to walk once I left the lounge later.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Welcome, enjoy. Yes.
Right, I made it to the lounge at Montreal. This is the Banque Nationale lounge, which is like a contract lounge, I would say. It's quite bright and airy. It's a nice design. Not much selection of food. Best thing I got is vegetarian chili and some nacho chips, which are, I don't know, to get me through to the flight. I can't imagine the food on Air Algerie is going to be brilliant either. All right, then time to head to the gate. I am so excited about flying on Air Algerie. I've been wanting to fly on these guys for so long. Never really had the chance to do it, but this seems like a perfect opportunity. So let's get down to the gate.
Before we go any further though, I'd like to say a big thank you to this week's video sponsor, MyHeritage. I've been doing a ton of research into my family tree thanks to MyHeritage, and I've managed to go back generations. It's absolutely insane. Once you get past the first few generations and you get all the information in there, you start to be able to build up a really easy way of going back absolutely hundreds of years. I've literally managed to go back to the 1200s on one branch of my family tree and just trace the family all the way down there. It's incredible, and MyHeritage make it so easy too. They use all sorts of AI technology as well, so you can really dig in deep to the information about anybody in your family tree. It lets you colorize old photographs and even use AI to bring them to life and animate them as well, which brings a whole new level of immersion for me personally. One of the coolest things I've found is that one of my ancestors in the distant past is none other than the 27th President of the United States, William Howard Taft. He was the president right after Roosevelt back in 1909, and he was president for 4 years. He served one term. Even if he wasn't one of the more better known presidents, he was still president of this country, which is insane. And also, aside from that, he was the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court as well, which is just incredible, really, isn't it? Using MyHeritage, you can search more than 20 billion historical documents to find records of all your family members from the past. I love the instant discoveries feature that MyHeritage has as well. You just click on the button and instantly you can generate entire lines of your family tree and find photos and things like that, all with the click of a button. It's just really, really cool. MyHeritage are offering you a 14-day free trial when you use my link on the screen now, or scan the QR code that's on your screen right now. Click on the link, you'll be able to get 14 days free, but trust me, you won't want to end it after 14 days. You'll get hooked into it just like me, and I've spent hours and hours going back, believe me, and it just never gets old. Anyway, let's get back to Air Algerie.
Business class, yeah?
Once I got to the gate, it seemed like I was in for a bit of a treat. It turned out that Air Algerie were parked on a remote stand, which meant I got to try out a really unique way of boarding the plane. Here at Montreal, they have these sky lounges which attach to the terminal, then drive across the airport to the aircraft on remote stands. There's only a couple of airports worldwide that have this, between Montreal and Washington Dulles Airport down in the US.
So this is pretty cool, isn't it? This is one of the people mover things they've got here in Montreal. I've never been on one of these before. I've seen them before. It's like a gate, like a bus that sort of attaches to the terminal, and then it sort of lowers down, takes you across, and then lifts you up onto the plane. How cool is this? It's like a bus gate, but you've not actually left the terminal. You stay just in this one here. So cool.
Pretty soon the doors were closed and the lounge was lowered to drive across the airport to the plane. I thought it was pretty interesting that these things get a taxi clearance and drive along the actual taxiways rather than the airport roads, presumably because of the size of them. Eventually though, we were pulling up to our aircraft, this 9-year-old Airbus A330-200 that was originally delivered new to Air Algerie in 2015. As the lounge was raised up to the aircraft door, I got a really unique view of the Airbus out of the window, which is a view that you don't often get while you're boarding. As I got on board the A330, I was about to get my first interaction with the Air Algerie crew, which was, let's just say, a little bit one-sided. I had to wait to get to my seat thanks to some cabin crew having a conversation and blocking the aisle, and then when they'd finished they simply pushed me out of the way to get back to their respective galley, which wasn't a great first impression. Eventually though, I made it to my seat in time for takeoff.
Right there, welcome on board Air Algerie's Airbus A330-200. This is pretty cool. That has to be as well the coolest boarding thing I've ever had on that little bus thing. How cool was that? Such a good idea. I know they've got them in Washington DC, but I've never actually seen one before in use. I didn't think they still used them, but clearly they still do here in Montreal. Anyway, it's quite a nice seat actually. This is in a 121, lie flat seats either side, and yeah, a little sort of cubby suite thing. We've got a nice big TV here. We've got controls for the seat over here. There's a remote control. We've got USB socket here. We've got 3 pin plugs just here. Headphone outlet as well. Pretty decent. Looking forward to this actually. Should be a nice ride across the Atlantic. I think it's about 8 hours or so across to Algiers, and then we've got a connection. Who knows how that's going to go, and then another flight up to Paris from there, but we'll focus on this one first. There's another cool bus coming. I've got to video it.
As we waited for the rest of the passengers to board, I was given a glass of something, again with no communication other than it just being placed by my seat. At this point I realised I hadn't had a single conversation with any member of cabin crew since I got on the plane, but it was quite a nice drink though, and before too long the last passengers were on board and it was time to push back from the gate and get on our way across the Atlantic. Our route tonight then took us east out of Montreal towards Newfoundland, then across the Atlantic, coasting in over northwest Spain. Then we flew over Madrid and across the Mediterranean into Algeria with a flight time tonight of 6 hours and 46 minutes, cruising at 39,000 feet.
Alright then, airborne from Montreal by Air Algerie. I have to say, so far, the flight's not bad, the seat's okay, it's a little bit tired, a little bit battered. The service not been brilliant so far. I mean, obviously when we boarded the flight, it took me about 10 minutes to get to my seat because the cabin crew were busy gabbing in the aisle. They've still not collected my pre-takeoff glass either. So yes, I'm not one to complain. I'm just noting differences here because like usually they come around and collect these before takeoff. Not even seen the cabin crew. They've not welcomed me on board apart from giving me that drink, and they've not spoken anything other than French so far. Even the safety demo wasn't in English, it was just in French, which is, again, is fine. They're a French-speaking airline, I understand all this, but it's just interesting the differences between Air Algerie and perhaps some other airlines, that's all, really. But anyway, we are airborne. We've got about 7 hours, I think, to run across the Atlantic, so not a lot of time to sleep on this flight. Don't know what the food service is going to be like, how long that's going to take to serve, but we'll figure that one out, because I'd like to try and get the dinner and then try and get some rest for a few hours before we pull into Algiers in the morning. The other interesting thing, by the way, is that I appear to be sat in an exit row because there is this in my seat, which describes what I need to do to open the emergency exit, which is actually just in front of me, just behind that wall, just there. So because I'm sat in an exit row, usually they have to come round as well before you take off and tell you about opening the emergency exit and make sure you're okay with that. All the rest of it, nothing like that either, which is interesting. So I'm not entirely sure if this is an exit row or not. I think it is. There's an exit row safety card. It does say I need to be reseated if I don't want to do the emergency exit, so I think I'm in an exit row, but there's been no communication from anybody about me being in an exit row, if that makes sense. Again, interesting.
As is often the case once you get airborne, you start to notice just how clean the aircraft isn't, and Air Algerie's A330 was, well, let's just say, disgusting. The air vents were coated in dust and 9 years of coffee stains, or at least I hope it was coffee stains. The compartment for the life jacket was filthy and falling apart, and it seemed that the cabin hadn't seen a duster since the day it was delivered. The in-flight entertainment did have a few movies and TV shows to watch though, and interestingly it had an external camera, albeit just in the straight down position.
So we have an amenity kit to go through, so let's have a little look at what we get in the Air Algerie amenity kit. Quite a nice bag actually, it's got like the Air Algerie logo on it. Nice little carrying handle as well. So what we got inside, I mean that's quite a nice, I'll just show you how that opens up. There's like a little pouch at the top with bits in there, see what there is. Like what contents do we get? It's a nice Air Algerie eye mask. That's nice, that's pretty cool. We get some cool Air Algerie socks. We get a shaving set, earplugs, interesting, in a plastic top. We get a dental kit and we get a shoehorn. Interesting, I was watching Curb Your Enthusiasm, which is where I get all of my interesting facts from, you know, because it's like that sort of show. And he was saying in that show, and I don't know how true it is, that over the years the human hand has evolved, because in the past you used to use shoehorns to put your shoes on. Now you always put your fingers in the back of your shoe, and apparently over the years people have done that so much that your hand has evolved to be the shape of a shoehorn. Look, your fingers bent like that, and apparently your fingers being bent like that, that's evolution in progress. Also according to Larry David anyway. I'm not quite sure how true that is, but it could very well be true, couldn't it?
The table was soon prepared for dinner, complete with the flight attendant's facial hair. Or rather, I hoped it was just facial hair, but I tried not to think about that and rather focused on the pile of trash that was mounting up that hadn't been collected yet.
Right, so the dinner service has arrived. I have no idea what it is. I was just handed a tray. There is no choice of food, you get what you're given and like it or lump it on Air Algerie. And the pièce de résistance is whatever is in this tray, so let's have a look and see what's in here. We've got some like salady bits, there's some cheese and crackers, there's a warm cob which is quite nice, and a couple of like desserty bits there as well. But let's have a look. Oh, it's like opening a mystery prize, isn't it? Okay, it's meat of some description. It looks very dry, but equally it smells very well done. By that I mean burned. It smells like burnt toast. Let's see what it tastes like. The taters taste okay. They're alright. It tastes like leftover pork. It's like, you know, when you have pork for a Sunday dinner and you sort of reheat it the next day when there's been a bit left over. It's a little bit like that. Sort of reminiscent of sort of Christmas Day dinners, maybe Sunday dinners back in England. Around a warm fire, eating your leftovers the next day. A nostalgic taste. Yeah, we got some rubbery beans as well to go down with it. This is so bad. It tastes so disgusting. I'm sorry, Air Algerie. And I know you try your hardest, but yeah, I'm just looking forward to the cheese. I don't think you can mess up cheese too much, can you?
It's time for the Noel Phillips Lou Review.
Alright then, the Air Algerie Lou Review, and it's actually not too bad given the state of the rest of the aircraft and how dirty it seems to be. The toilet isn't too bad, really. This is the one at the front, just by the cockpit, just that side. We've got a baby changing table, some spare loo roll down there, and a toilet. And all down here we've got the sink and everything. Pretty nice. There's a nice little mirror there as well. No telephones in the toilet. You can't sit on the loo and browse Reddit, not on Air Algerie at least, because it's forbidden. And then we've got whatever that thing is there, a jet. Actually not too bad, I have to say. Slightly battered again. Interestingly, just opposite this toilet there is like a crew rest area, and they've left the door open. It's interesting, you can see it, and it's all carpeted around the walls. I'm not going to film out there because it's probably not going to be it's probably going to be a bit frowned upon, but you can see inside the crew rest area, and they've got like beds in there and like carpeted walls. Looks quite nice, very bougie. Anyway, I'm going to get back to my seat. Here's a little tip for you that I've just learned recently on TikTok, by the way. Whenever you've got the bin like that, the trash can just there, push to dispose, I always hate like, oh, I don't want to touch it. Well, down there on the floor you have a little pedal. Hello, I am a waste disposal unit. Oh, please feed me. Isn't that cool? I never knew that. We just found it out. Anyway, let's get back to my seat.
That was the Noel Phillips Lou Review.
Right, so dinner was about an hour ago. My tray is still here, waiting to be collected. I'm just going to chuck it across the other side. I've even put my hot towel, which is now a cold towel, and a dry towel, and my pre-takeoff drink cup as well. It's all still on here, so I'm just going to pop it over there, I think. There's nobody on the middle seat, so I'm going to put it over there, I think. There we go. Honestly, when I first got on board Air Algerie, I was a little bit nervous that the crew might not be very happy about me taking videos and photos and stuff. Sometimes these North African airlines, well, they can be a little bit difficult to film on. They don't tend to like people waving cameras around, but honestly, the crew's been that absent, I think they barely know they've got any passengers on board, let alone somebody that's making videos and stuff on the flight as well. It's honestly, I'm not complaining because it's quite laughable, actually. Honestly, it is quite laughable, isn't it? Anyway, we are over the Atlantic Ocean now. I'm going to try and put my bed down in a minute, try and get a little bit of rest. We arrive in like 5 hours into Algeria. We've got a whacking great tailwind tonight, so hopefully I'm going to get a little bit of rest before we land down into Algiers. Alright, so I've put the flatbed down. It's actually quite spacious. It's one of these sort of reverse herringbone types that you get with the little cubby hole for your head at the top. Plenty of room for me at 6'4", 6'5", whatever I am today. There's no bedding or anything though. You don't get like anything other than this. It's like a really flimsy sheet blanket thing out of a plastic bag. That's all you get. You don't even get a cushion to rest your head on, so you sort of just laid on the seat, which is a little bit uncomfortable, but hey, that's what we've got to work with. So I'll see if I can get some sleep without a pillow. Maybe I'll have to use my jacket or something as a pillow. That might work better. Hey, but yeah, it's actually not a bad idea actually. That's my jacket. There we go. I can use my jacket as a pillow and try and pull up me little blanket and see if I can get some rest. Anyway, I'm going to try and get some sleep, and I will see you in the morning. Good night.
3 hours later.
You know what? I think I'm going to give up trying to get any sleep. We're now about 2 hours before landing. Aside from this being the most incredibly uncomfortable seat ever because there's like rods and bars sticking up everywhere. Obviously no pillow or anything, so that's been tough. But then of course we've got the crew who are right now, as they have been for the last hour, 2 hours, they're right behind that curtain there, having like the loudest conversation ever. They just won't shut up. And I'm glad they're feeling awake. I might go sit and join in with them. I bet they wouldn't even know I was there anyway. I can't sleep though. I need to drink as well actually, but I don't know. I don't want to disturb them, so... Alright then, breakfast time. They've just brought a tray round and put it in front of me. It looks like we have some sort of pastry. We've got a croissant and a choco pan and a very hot cob and some Philadelphia as well to spread on it, and a bit of fruit as well. It's about an hour before landing. We're just flying overhead Madrid. Sun is it's starting to get a little bit light over on the horizon. I think it might start turning light by the time we arrive into Algeria, but right now we're over Madrid. Crazy that we're only 1 hour from Algeria while we're over Madrid. I didn't realise it was that close, but anyway, let's eat me breakfast. I'm hoping that they bring some coffee round as well, because I need caffeine right now. Right then, we've started our approach down into Algiers in Algeria. We will be on the ground very soon. We're just in a few minutes. Can't wait to see what it's like down there. So we're on our final approach now into Algiers. Landing gears down. We're literally landing in about 60 seconds. Done a bit of an experiment. I've left my seat reclined and my TV out to see if they catch it when they come around and do the walk around. They haven't. There's a green light that normally shows when the seat's in a takeoff and landing position. Obviously mine doesn't have it because it's still reclined. They haven't done a walk around of the cabin, so how many people don't have their seatbelts on right now? They haven't been checked. I didn't have too long to worry about the prospect of an unfastened passenger hurtling through the air towards me though, as pretty soon we were smashing down onto the runway at Algiers Algiers International Airport. After we touched down, it seemed the crew not only hadn't checked we were fastened in, but seemingly they hadn't closed half the closets and doors, as doors came flying open as we slowed down on the runway. I got off the plane into the terminal building, and it was soon time to find out what connections were like here in Algeria. Transit, yes, to Paris.
Paris, passport, please.
Yes.
You have boarding pass?
I do, thank you. It's all there. Thank you.
After following the signs, I got to a desk where I had to complete an entry form into Algeria, even though I was just transiting.
Okay, I have to complete.
Yes, for police.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, good morning.
No visa was needed though, and I had to get a stamp from the border guard before a security checkpoint that just required me to put my bag onto a belt and walk through, setting off all the alarms before being sent on my merry way so the guard could get back to his morning coffee. Once I did get through to departures though, it was really weird. It's a massive brand new empty airport, and at this time of the morning there was nobody there. I headed down this hospital-like corridor to the lounge where once again there were no members of staff anywhere, so I just sort of walked in and took a seat. Nobody approached me the entire time I was in there, so I do have to wonder whether or not I could have just got in without a business class ticket in the first place.
Right, welcome to the Air Algerie lounge here in Algiers. Relatively straightforward. You do have to, it seems, get stamped into the country even though I'm just transiting, which is a bit weird. Doesn't normally happen. Normally if you transit you sort of just get waved through, and yeah, there was a security check, but that was just walk through, set the alarms off, grab it. It doesn't seem like people are that bothered about it, but anyway. Nice terminal building though. This reminds me very much of the terminal in Ulaanbaatar, strangely enough, when I flew with Mayat Mongolian. It's pretty much the same design. It's quite nice. Big, bright, spacious, brand new. We're boarding in like half an hour, so even though my flight leaves in 2 hours, that's weird. So why are we boarding in half an hour if my flight leaves in 2? Anyway, I don't know. It's Algeria. I don't really know. But anyway, sit here for a bit, might grab another coffee, and then we'll head on down to the gate. All right then, time to go down to the gate. Even though it's an hour and a half until our flight leaves to Paris, apparently you've got to get to the gate now. I'm guessing there's extra security because it's a flight to the EU. I don't know. We'll see.
Figuring I had plenty of time to get to the gate, I did stop and have a look at some of the aircraft out on the ramp. There's loads of Air Algerie aircraft here, being the national carrier, as well as aircraft belonging to Tassili Airlines, which is a local Algerian airline here in Algeria.
So it seems that there isn't any extra security or anything. It's just they wanted us at the gate an hour and a half before departure, and there's like still nobody here. So it's 5:45 in the morning. Our flight's at 7:15, and there's no staff or anything here. So yeah, kind of almost wish I stayed in the lounge, but then it was quite a walk from the lounge to here. So I guess I'd rather be here than in the lounge than having to run, sort of thing. I am not in the mood for running at this time of the morning. Anyway, hopefully we'll be getting on board soon for the flight up to Paris, France.
Eventually it was time to get on board the plane, and it seems security at this stage was a bit tighter than everywhere else in Algeria, as I got my passport checked not once but 3 times as I boarded the plane. Once I got on board, this aircraft was pretty different compared to the previous one that I'd been on the way over from Montreal. It soon became clear that this was because this isn't actually an Air Algerie plane.
Hi, how are you sitting there? Yes, 2-8. Yeah. All right, thank you. Oh no, it's okay. Oh, perfect. So I have no neighbour. That's even better. Thank you. Boy. All right. Welcome on board. This is a bit different. This is not an Air Algerie plane, I don't think. So I think this plane is actually a high fly plane, who are like a wet leasing company. They charter planes out to airlines. I don't think this is an Air Algerie plane. It's in an all-white livery. It's all white, and the crew, I think, are high-fly crew as well. So yeah, it's slightly different to the Air Algerie one, but nicer though. Even though it's in a 222, it seems to be a lot nicer than the Air Algerie one, I have to say. A lot more privacy, and it's a lot cleaner and a lot newer, apart from some of the seats are a bit beaten up. I'm just looking at the state of that one down there, but hey, you know, it's not too bad. It's not too bad. Apparently there's nobody at the side of me because this seat's broken at the side of me as well, so it's just me, and I've got 2 seats, my own private cubby for this flight. So yeah. Well, in even better news, apparently I'm the only passenger in business class for the whole flight today. I've got the whole cabin to myself, and apparently they've loaded a full cabin full of catering on as well for one person. So he said I won't be going hungry on this flight, but to be honest, I don't think I'll be doing much eating, maybe more sleeping, but hey.
One thing that was pretty interesting was this plane used to be owned by Kingfisher Airlines over in India, and they haven't changed a single thing. The aircraft is entirely branded as Kingfisher on the inside. My flight to Paris took us north across the island of Minorca and into France, crossing Marseille and Lyon before descending into Paris, with a flight time today of 1 hour and 58 minutes, cruising at 38,000 feet.
Alright then, here we go. Airborne from Algeria, heading across now to Paris, France. About a 2-hour run, they've said, which isn't too bad at all. This seat's really nice. By the way, it's quite retro, but it's all set up as Kingfisher Airlines, which is the Indian airline that used to exist in the early 2000s. They had this aircraft brand new until they went bust in like 2012 or something. So for the last 12 years it's been flying around still with all the Kingfisher stuff on board it, but just for different airlines. And it's pretty cool. I love the seat controls are down here in the middle. They've even got the Kingfisher logo on them. There's a massage function which I've been using, which is just insanely intense. Like, sometimes you get these massages and it's like a bar that sort of rolls round and prods you in different places. This is like an actual massage sort of chair that you'd find somewhere. It vibrates and everything. It's really nice. And there's a little... So it's like a mirror that comes out. It's a privacy divider, but it's a mirror. It's nice having the privacy divider there, but I don't know if the mirror's a right choice. I don't really want to look at myself for 2 hours, really. Nobody deserves to look at me for any length of time, really, but I really don't want to look at myself, so I can let me open that back up again. There we go, that's much better. I can't see myself now. Right.
Like everything else on this aircraft, the in-flight entertainment was branded up as Kingfisher Airlines, but it didn't do anything. I was left looking at this welcome screen for the entire 2-hour flight, which was, well, slightly entertaining, I guess.
Right then, breakfast time. It doesn't look the best, honestly, but I am starving because I didn't eat my breakfast on the last flight as well. There wasn't much there. I mean, what is this? Is that some dried pork or something? Which is the same pork that they had last night for dinner. It tastes rancid. Yeah, I think this is supposed to be omelette. It's like some sort of reconstituted thing. It's, well, it's something. What does they... I don't think Air Algerie are going to be winning any awards for their cuisine on board. It's not the greatest. When this is the only option to eat though, what else are you going to do? So then, Air Algerie. Where do we even begin with this shower of stuff for the last couple of flights? Right, I have to be honest, I am not a fan of those sorts of videos that we've all seen online that slag off the cabin crew because they're given a crap service, or that make sweeping statements about the safety of an airline when actually it's probably just something minor that the airline's done that isn't quite the norm. You know, I'm not a fan of these sort of big expose type things at all. I think those videos in general I find to be quite kind of clickbaity and not my cup of tea, honestly. And I really don't want to make that sort of video about Air Algerie because, to be honest, who knows what could have happened on that last flight. It was probably a bad day for the crew, maybe. You never know, do you? You don't know what's going on in that crew environment to make them the way that they were on that flight. Now, I'm not really going to comment on the cabin crew and the service on the last flight. It wasn't what you'd normally get on a long haul flight, but you know, it just might have been the crew having a bad day. You know, you never know. It's all, and customer service I always find is in the eye of the beholder, really. What is constituting good service for one person isn't necessarily what another person will see. I'm very fortunate I've got to fly on a lot of airlines around the world in business class, and I've seen some really amazing service. I've also seen some really bad service. I get to see the whole kind of range of it. So for me, it could just be my judgment that makes me think that that wasn't as good. So I'm not making any comment about that, really. What I do have to make a comment about is the safety side of it. And I'm not going to make any sweeping statements here either saying, oh, Air Algerie are unsafe, they're not a safe airline, because clearly that's based on one flight. You know, that you can't judge an entire airline based on one flight on one particular day. But really, as somebody with the perspective that I have, somebody that travels a heck of a lot on commercial flights, I fly an awful lot, and I'm also a private pilot. I know that the very last thing before you take off and the very first thing before you land is checking that passengers have got their seatbelts on. It's Aviation 101. That just wasn't done, in addition to so many other things that they didn't do on that flight that made me think, who knows what else is going on? How many passengers on that flight landed without a seatbelt on? How many passengers with babies on their laps landed with loose children on their laps? If anything had ever happened and we'd have gone off the runway, who knows what could have happened there? And that's, honestly, basic things like that is where I think that was kind of wrong. Now, as I mentioned before, I'm not going to go out there and say Air Algerie are an unsafe airline, because the chances are they're probably not. It could have been just one crew on one flight on one particular day. I don't know. I've not flown Air Algerie much. This is my first flight with them. But if they're doing that on other flights as well, then potentially that's a concern. But again, I don't want to make clickbait videos, and I don't want to make videos talking about terrible safety procedures and terrible crew service and stuff, because that really isn't fair to anybody, and just really you have to take it as you find it on a day, any given day really, don't you? Right then, we have started our descent down into Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport. We should be on the ground in about the next 20 minutes or so, and it's looking a bit grey and cloudy down there. It might be a bit of a miserable approach and landing into Paris, but hey, it's okay. Looking forward to getting down on the ground. So the high fly crew have just come around to make sure everyone's seat backs are upright and tray tables are stowed and TVs are put away and seat belts are done up and all that good stuff, so that's good. And with the basic safety checks complete, we were soon starting our descent into a rainy Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport. My flight to Paris cost a grand total of $2,200 or around about 34,157 Eritrean nakfars. Considering I could have taken this flight with Air Canada for about $500 less, or connected somewhere in Europe for even less than that, Air Algerie are actually pretty expensive, especially considering what you get. They are, however, the first airline I've ever flown on that offer you that full flatbed experience from gate to gate with optional seat belts as well, which has to be a win, right? Let me know if you've ever flown Air Algerie down in the comments. And once again, don't forget to get your 14-day free trial of MyHeritage at the link in the description. Welcome to Paris. Thank you so much for watching. As always, take care, be kind, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.